Hello, I am Gimbal Lock, and today we're going to be doing this. It's a flying model paper airplane that we're going to draw the parts and cut out and put it together. This is kind of an advanced project, so you want to do the other airplane project first. So I have my glide table and I have my drawing here, and I've got graph paper because the graph paper is going to make this a lot easier. So I'm going to line up this line right here as a datum. And I'm going to start drawing parts. Now the parts need to be really simple. I can't really take this easily. I want this to be an easy airplane with only a few parts. And I'm going to try to keep it right on these lines because that just makes it easier to do. If I can, I will stop at a junction between two lines. So here's the side view of the airplane. Notice it's basically just three parts. This notch for the windshield and for the back window here, I have left that out. We could put them in, but I want to keep this with only three parts. I'm not even going to put the landing gear in right now. It's not necessary for this. Notice here's the wing, and the wing is going to have a true wing profile. It's going to be thick, it's going to be curved on the top and flat on the bottom, and it is actually going to generate lift. Our horizontal stabilizer is going to be on this line right here, but it's coming right at us, so you can't really see it. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw the top view of the airplane. I have lined up this line here as my datum, and I've got this line as a center line. And I'm going to start making the top view of the airplane, and I need to use this line so that my parts are all the same size. And this line. Notice how I only need to draw half of the fuselage. We're going to turn the paper upside down and trace the other half. I'm going to go make the wing. Now this wing is going across the fuselage here. But I can just flip it over and line it up and trace the wing going that way. We have really simplified this wing. We could make the wing come like this and have that little bend, but that would mean making the wing in at least three pieces. I would like to make the wing in only two pieces, so there's a left half and a right half. The first thing we're going to do is figure out this piece right here. So the top is this, and the side is this, and the bottom is also going to be this. So we're going to start tracing this onto a sheet of paper. So this is the roof of this central piece. I'm going to put a little arrow here to say which way is frontwards, just so we're clear. Now this top, we're going to put right above this piece right here. And then we're going to trace this piece. So this is the left side of our airplane. So we have the top, the left, and the right side of the airplane. We need the bottom. We're going to use this top piece as the bottom, but we're going to make it a little bit longer because this slant means it's going to be slightly longer. This piece is done. It just needs a couple of tabs so that this edge and this edge can be stuck together. And then we're going to do the next piece. We're going to start with the center of this one. Now the length is going to be a little different here. Let's figure that out really easy. So here's the top part of our tail. And we're going to put the side of the tail in here. This is a mark for the vertical stabilizer to line up. This is for the horizontal stabilizer. So we've got the left, the top, and the right side. The bottom is going to be another one of these. Here's another way to figure out what the bottom looks like. We're going to draw it right here. We're going to use this square template to kind of keep things straight because we want this line to be perpendicular to this line. We don't want to have to eyeball it. So if we use one of these squares, we can line up this little mark and this little mark. We don't care how long it is, but that's the line right there. So now we need to get this distance here. So I've got the two halves of the bottom, and it's going to come to a point. So right here is the bottom piece of the airplane. It's getting a little confusing here because the center line is also the bottom line for this. So we've got the middle fuselage, the tail. Now we just need the nose, and this is the hard part. Once this is done, the rest of it's really easy. This is what the top looks like from the front, but we've got the same slanty thing that we had with the car. So we need to take this measurement and we need to put it here. It's going to be a little longer than this, as you can see. So this is the actual part. This is the front view. Now this bottom piece here, we can draw here also, because it's going to be the same width. It's just going to be a little bit shorter. So we made a couple notes here so we can keep these things true to what they ought to be. And I'm going to actually draw both sides of this so I don't have to flip it over as much. There we go. Because I've measured this distance and this distance, this whole thing should be symmetrical. So we've got our side view and our top and our bottom. So we've got 3 fuselage pieces. We do need tabs for them to stick together. This tail fin is really easy. There's your tail fin. It has a left and right side. And there's the fin fillet. This will give us this cranked shape that we have. We're making it out of 2 pieces. This guy is easy. Now the tabs on this are going to be interesting. The tabs have to fit on the fuselage. They can't be bigger than that. We can just trace the whole thing right here on this other sheet. We need the wing. Now, the wing is going to have a bottom half and a top half. And the top half is going to be a little bigger, which means we need to measure this curved section here, and that's going to go right there. So here we go, measuring this curve. You can see that this is just a little bit bigger, not a lot. If you don't want to make this really big because then you'll have a big old hump like that, which will generate lift, but it'll also generate a lot of drag. And here's what I do with it. I'm going to line it up with this edge and make a new mark right there. So we've got two lines. This is for the bottom of the wing, and this is for the top of the wing. So when I trace the two pieces, I'm going to use two different lines. So this is the bottom of the wing. And for the top of the wing, I'm going to use that second line. Now I need to make the other wing. And here's her wing. Now we need some tabs on this so that this edge can join with this edge. So now we have a wing and one stabilizer, and the other stabilizer, the vertical stabilizer, the fin fillet, and our 1, 2, 3 fuselage parts. This thing is ready to build and make a prototype. Here's a copy of the parts that I drew. We have a little issue here, is this tab is too wide to fit in here. This is why we always test fit before we start putting glue on it. Now here's our pieces. We're going to make these tabs cross. If we bend them out slightly, it makes it a little easier. That makes our tail of the fuselage. We know how it works. So now we're going to put some glue on it. Make sure it's straight, and then we can sneak some glue under there. Now, sometimes it's hard to push these tabs in. So you get a pencil, you put a pencil inside so you can push against the pencil and get that tab secure. And here's our wing. Now, the wing is kind of in two pieces. We do not cut here, though. That's just like a little center line I made. We do need to cut here. This little triangle of paper has to come out. And then for our wing, we got to fold these tabs in. Now it's important as you fold this on the airplane, you have to be precise. So I'm going to pinch these two sides in, and I can kind of work my way into the middle a bit, but then I'm going to put it on the ground and mash. And that will give me a straight line. If I try to fold it in the air like this, I might not get it exactly right. I might get a twist in the wing, which means it won't fly. So I'm going to pinch these two sides and mash. And that will give me a perfect fold right down that line. Now notice how this little edge is bigger. See, if I just put glue and put it flat like this, it's going to be all floppy and it won't give us any lift. We're going to make this edge touch this line. And if we do that, it forces this to go in a curve. That curve will not only give us lift, but it will also make the wing kind of strong. It won't want to bend. You could, if you really wanted to, tuck this under and let this paper kind of hold it in place. You just have to make sure this is glued down so it doesn't catch the air. So I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this on the table, and I'm going to line up that edge with that fold and hold it down so it's perfectly flat. So you can see this is flat. There's no twist in there. This is our wing. Now, it's a little floppy this way, but that's fine, because we're going to stick it here on the top of the airplane fuselage. Now, make sure you get glue on the edges. And we don't care too much about the middle here, but you don't want it peeling up on the edges. Looks like an airplane now. We're going to cut this thing out next. Make sure you get this area right there. Now this guy folds in half, and then these little tabs we drew will fold up and down. So they make little feet. See, one goes up and one goes down, and this gives us something to put glue onto. If we didn't have these tabs, if it was just like this, we could try to glue that on and it wouldn't stay, and even if it did, it would flop around. So we have these little tabs that stick out like that, and we can put glue on there, and we can stick it right to the side of the airplane like this. Now, if you're using tacky glue, you're okay. If you're using Elmer's glue, it's going to shrivel up and it's going to make this all warped. It's not going to fly right. So you want to use tiny dots like this. And I want to hold it on the ground like that for a little bit because I don't want this to curl up and mess up my airflow. And I can see that tab's a little bit too big. I made some kind of a mistake when I was measuring that, because that's a little too big. But that's okay because I can change the design and make another copy. Now we made a little area here to line this up, but again, we kind of messed up, made that a little bit too big. Now if you look at the back, you can see they're not quite straight. You gotta kind of scoot around before the glue really grabs it and make sure they're going the same way. There's a neato trick you can do with this because the tabs are symmetrical. It means we can fold this in half and we can cut out both sides at the same time. Now the tabs on this one are also too big. You can see how they're a little bit too wide. We will have to change our design for that. Now it's important to get the tail straight. I mean, you don't want it gluing in like that because it's going to make your airplane spin. And this is going to go right there. partly it makes it look like the full-size airplane, but this other little piece also gives a little bit of more strength to the tail. The tail isn't going to bend back as forward as easily if this is grabbing onto it. So there's our airplane. Now we need to balance this. The reason this airplane won't fly right now when you throw it is because there's a big engine in the front in the full-size airplane. So there's this long tail to balance out the big heavy engine. Well, there isn't an engine in our paper airplane, so it's tail heavy. See, it's not going to fly like that. We want this to balance right about here. We want to balance on the wings about maybe a third from the leading edge. So we're going to put a bunch of paper clips in there, and we're going to balance that. So I did some experiments and found out it needs 2 paper clips. These little guys. So both of them go in the nose, and that makes it balance on the wings. Now I did have to bend these up quite a bit. So I'm going to change my design so that these, instead of being like that, they'll be more like this. Because I believe with the wing here, it's actually kind of trying to steer it down. And you can tell, if it goes down, and if you fly it upside down and it goes up, then you've got a steering problem. If you turn it upside down and it also goes down, then your weight's too heavy. Because the whole point is to balance. You want the lift to balance on the center of gravity. And the further forward it is, the more stable the airplane is. But if you get it too far forward, it won't be able to climb. It'll just go down. So this does actually fly. It would fly a little better if I engineered the wings to have an angle up like this. That would make it more stable. And if I adjusted these to go up. But aside from that, this is a success. Thank you for watching this video. This one was a lot different than the other ones. This is more of a kind of a technical drawing thing, but it's a hobby that I've had for the last 30 years, and I enjoy explaining how this works. If you like this, please leave a like and consider subscribing so I can get more than 7 followers. Thank you. Bye.